5 o'clock, and we're going to call this meeting to order. I am going to be chairing it today, and Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Chair, Mr. Jack Walsh, is on Zoom, as well as Committee Member Erica Norton. And we also have Deputy Mayor Susan Honda here, and Councilmember Jack Dovey here in the council chambers. And it's 5 o'clock. So with that, before we start, there is a motion that Committee Chair Jack Walsh would like to present. So go ahead.
Okay, just one moment. I had it right here and it disappeared, so just a second here. Okay, I move to forward items K and L to a public hearing and item M to the council business agenda at the November 15, 2022 regular council meeting.
Second.
Motion passed and seconded. Are there any comments? Seeing none.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So, I don't mean oppose. Aye to the first initial. Okay, motion passed unanimously. With that, thank you, Sarah, for being here, and we'll see you at the next meeting then.
Oh, she still has a few things.
You have the
Going to the consent agenda.
Parks Recreation. She has the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, the South King County Homelessness, right? Okay. All right, sorry about that. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone here for public comment?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Next agenda is committee business. Approval of October 11th, 2022 minutes. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the October 2022 minutes.
I'll second. Minutes. Any discussions? No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Erica's muted.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is report on PAC operations. And with us is Ryan. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thank you, council members, Deputy Honda. Brian Hoffman, General Manager with Oakview Group 360. I am providing September's update on PAC operations. I'm going to be very brief. We've provided a review or our notes previously. I know a lot of folks, there's a lot on the agenda, but really a good month for us in September with approximately 11 usage days. Our web matrix and social media posts and everything are up over previous months. We will continue through the end of the year providing a comparison of September 2019, September 2021, and this year of where we are trending with events, revenue, tickets sold, and food and beverage revenue. And this year, all of those are above the previous 2019 and 2021. And then our upcoming events, we have quite a few events through the latter part of November and finishing up the year very strong with, in December alone, approximately 19 usage event days throughout the month, and many holiday parties, and kicking off the holiday season on actually November 26th with our free community event, ELF, that is sponsored by the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation. So happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions from council? This item is information only, so If there are no questions, we can move to the next item. King County COVID-19 pandemic funding for PAC.
Good evening. I'll be very brief tonight. I know that we have a long agenda and lots of things to do this evening. So before you, you have a agenda bill regarding King County COVID-19 pandemic funding for the PAC. The policy question is, should the City Council accept $50,000 in funding from King County for COVID-19 pandemic relief for the Performing Arts Center? Brief background. Upon Pete von Reichbauer's recommendation, the 21-22 King County budget included an expenditure restriction to direct county funding toward our organization. The budget includes $50,000 reserved for the City of Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center to support the arts and cultural programs and operations during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. So the policy question before you is the two options are to accept the $50,000 in funding or to not accept and provide direction to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Hutton. Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So what can this money be actually used for?
There's not a lot of restrictions on it. However, it hasn't been decided yet. We haven't received the money yet. They expect it in the fourth quarter. We would expect it to be used for Arts for Youth or, I wrote a note, Arts for Youth or arts education programming.
Could it be used for the performing groups to give them some help with paying for using the PAC?
It's possible, but we're trying to recover. We lost our arts education person as a COVID thing, so we think it would be appropriate to get that arts education program back up and running. The school district is coming back, so we're trying to invest in Arts for Youth.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you very much for your presentation. Would someone like to make a motion, please?
I move to forward the proposed acceptance of the $50,000 funding from King County to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion.
Motion been approved and seconded. Any conversation, any discussions? Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is, I lost it. I'm sorry. Sacagawea Track replacement, completion, and release of retainage.
Good evening, Council. Policy question before you tonight is, should the City Council accept the Sacagawea Track replacement project as complete and authorize staff to release the retainage? Did provide you kind of with some before and after pictures and the financials. Track was well loved and wore out, and it is a significant improvement. Already heard a lot of great things from the community having that track back, and our partner on the project, the Federal Way Public Schools, is extremely pleased with the outcome of that. They're the larger user of the track than us for their track programs. So with that being said, I would entertain any questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Me again.
Go ahead.
I'm
Deputy
trying
Mayor.
not to talk. How long will we expect this track to last?
We did go with a higher grade track surface, and as long as we kind of do these maintenance applications every 3 years, we would hope to get 7 to 10 years out of the lifespan.
When was it replaced before?
It was replaced before in, I want to say it was 11 or 12, and so we pushed it. It had been worn out for several years. It just got denied on funding requests to replace sooner, but we were literally at the place, and we're at this place at Sacagawea, is where you have the track is delaminating from the asphalt underneath, and so we, on a weekly basis, go walk the track and make sure we have no trip hazards and stuff like that. And so the rubberized track just wears off and then it becomes kind of bare asphalt. And a good example of a brand new track is Sacagawea right now, and an example of a wore out track that needs to be replaced would be Sacagawea.
So I noticed when I was walking around during the summer that there were just like potholes in In the track? Does that make sense?
In the track, yeah, it's delaminating, and so buckling occurs is when you have water underneath that rubberized track surface, and then you have the air temperature heat up, and so it will bubble and then delaminates from the asphalt, because you're literally adhering the rubberized track to the asphalt layer underneath.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Councilmember Joby?
Question I have, are we going to be budgeting not now, but in the future, replacements, so we don't run, I mean, I know you have a tight budget, but 2 years down, we're just going through now, but are we thinking about like vehicles, we have retention and replacement funds?
No, we have AstroTurf.
Well, the track wears out every 7 years.
Yes, we're actually working with Director Groom from Finance to start.
Fake grass is more important.
So we are working with Director Groom and Finance to identify our larger amenities like tracks and field turf fields that do require replacement, to work on a fleet-like operation to save for that, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? My question is the school's part or role in this?
Yeah,
Can you share a little bit with us, please?
they're paying, if you look in the staff memo, they paid 50% of the project. We, we got a big portion of the track paid this time because we did go out and get a grant. It was Federal Way Public Schools' turn to manage the project. They told us they couldn't manage it. At that point, we didn't necessarily share the grant. We are in an MOU with them. That MOU is saying that in the future, we would be required to share that grant, but it was a way to kind of get some attention to equitable distribution of the workload that we share together as partners.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the proposal to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Motion has been, I always forget. Passed, whatever. Any comments or any discussions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
the
Council.
presentation. Next item is Jail Service Agreement, Nisqually Jail, and Commander Schwan. Thank you.
Hello, Deputy Mayor, council members. I have the next several agenda items, so we'll try to get through these with giving you as much information but being as brief as possible. So the first one, as you stated, is in Nisqually Jail. The policy question is here, should the Federal Way Police Department enter into a multi-year agreement with the Nisqually Jail for jail services at the cost of approximately $200,000 annually? Part of the jail services that we do, as you know, we moved away from SCORE a couple of years ago. We now contract with multiple different jails. The reason we're entering into an agreement with Nisqually at this time is because we have lost access to the Yakima jail. It was just a commissioner's decision that they would stop taking inmates at this point in time from the west side of the state. So we are just looking for different options and availability, just as an emergency backup. So the policy question here is if you approve the jail's services agreement, and if you do not, to please give us some direction.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So I have a question on what they provide for medical care. Do any of the jails if someone needs to detox off of alcohol or drugs, do they provide that service?
I don't know the specific programs that they have, but Nisqually has medical services, 24-hour medical services and medical beds, as well as mental health beds, as do King County and SCORE.
So it looks like this, when it says the City of Federal Way shall be responsible for urgent care facility visits, emergency room visits, would they then take the inmate to the emergency room and then the city pays for it? Is that how that works?
Correct. That's the way it happens at all of our jails.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the jail services agreement with Nisqually Jail to the November 15, 2022 council consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Seeing none? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you so much, and I think you can stay there anyway. Jail
All right.
services agreement for Score Jail.
This next one's going to be very similar. This is for the Score Jail, and the policy question before you is, should the Federal Way Police Department enter into a 2-year agreement with the Score Jail for jail services at a cost of approximately $1.1 million annually? This is a 15-bed guaranteed agreement that we are entering into with Score, which we worked out the numbers both up and down of that, and we believe this is most beneficial to us for the numbers that we've had held at Score over the last probably 7 to 8 months as we've increased out of COVID. So I think this benefits the city the best for us to have these guaranteed beds at this rate. And again, it is a local jail for us. It is close, and we are known to them, and they are a known commodity for us. They also have mental health services, medical services, and are able to transport our subjects for any medical care that they may need, and we just receive the billing for that. So the policy question before is, would you approve the proposed jail services agreement for Score? Or if you do not, that you would please give us direction.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions?
Yeah,
Councilmember Dobie?
I have one question. How many total beds are now in Score? We're asking for 15 guaranteed, but what is the total number of beds available?
I don't have the total size of the jail. I know that there's been wings that have never even been opened in that jail since it was built. So I know it has an extremely high capacity, but I honestly don't have that number. I can get that number for you, though.
Okay. I think you answered it. There's still wings that aren't being
Yeah,
used. Thank
very
you.
much so.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. Do we still use the video court?
Yes. We have video court at Score and out in Issaquah.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the jail services agreement for the Score Jail to the November 15, 2022 council consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is Memorandum of Understanding, MOU Contract Amendment for Fiscal Year 2019 Edward Barn Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or JAG.
That's a mouthful. You did a very good job, better than I would have done. The policy question there is, should the City of Federal Way and the Police Department accept an amended MOU contract between the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for the fiscal year of 2019? You'll see the dates on these. They typically run a little bit longer, and they take a little bit more time to resolve. This agreement is, the only thing we're asking change for is the time frame of the agreement, because the reimbursement has not come yet, and because of that, we have to stay within the MOU timeframe for reimbursement. So the only thing changing here is we've already spent the money, we've already been allocated the money, we just haven't been reimbursed completely for it yet. And for us to have that accomplished, we just need to extend the date on the MOU.
Thank you.
Okay, the options here are for you to approve the fiscal year 2019 JAG amendment or to not approve.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the proposed FY 2019 JAG Grant MOU Contract Amendment to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is fiscal year 2021 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance JAG Grant Scan 10 Scout Kit Portable X-ray purchase. Is it 10 or
Yes.
X? I don't know.
So you'll see we jumped ahead a couple of years to 2021. What this is a portable X-ray machine for our bomb disposal unit. So this allows us to put something up, take X-rays of it on scene at a safe distance so we can determine what's inside of it. If we had a suspicious package out in front of City Hall and we were worried about its contents, we could take a remote X-ray of it, determine if there is any concern to it, and be addressed in that. Now, the equipment that we've had is well outdated. It's been needing replacement and whatnot, and we thought what better use for the federal grant assistance than to buy some equipment for our bomb disposal unit. So the considerations before you are, should we be permitted to use those funds to purchase the X-ray equipment for the bomb tech, or do we not?
Okay. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, would someone like to make a motion, please?
I move to forward the approval of the purchase of X-ray equipment with the fiscal year 2021 JAG grant funds to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda, agreement between the Washington Traffic Safety Commission and the Federal Way Police Department to provide grant funding for traffic enforcement.
The policy question here is, should the City of Federal Way and the Federal Way Police Department accept $22,000 from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission for DUI, speeding, motorcycle, and distracted driving enforcement on a grant proposal? Simply, this is something that we do annually. It allows our officers to go out and be paid by the state to do extra enforcement for all those things that we just spoke about, the DUI and distracted driving specifically, but we also address motorcycle safety and enforcement as well as speeding. So this money is typically used primarily by the traffic officers because they have a best knowledge of our traffic laws and regulations, but we do allow a lot of the other officers within the agency to participate in some of the extra enforcement. So the considerations are that you accept the proposal or you reject the proposal.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have a motion, please?
I move approval of proposed agreement and authorize Chief Abby Wong to sign the agreement. Oh, hold on, I did the wrong one. I move to forward the proposed agreement to the November 15, 2022 City Council consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Last item, no, it's not.
Yes.
For you. Oh, it is
My
last item for
last
you,
one.
yes. Public safety testing service agreement.
Yes, the policy question here is, should the Federal Way Police Department enter into a multi-year agreement with public safety testing for entry-level testing and lieutenant assessment center services at a cost of approximately $37,000 annually? So public safety testing is the private company that we use to do all of our entry-level testing. They bring the people in, they administer the written tests, the physical agility tests, they provide us with scores and feedback. They are well vetted through our Civil Service Commission, and they work closely with our HR department with regard to our testing processes. And they are also exemplary with regard to assessment centers for our upper promotional opportunities. In fact, we utilize them for our lieutenants because we have typically anywhere from 8 to 12 candidates for the lieutenants testing. And it's a little bit more than we can handle internally ourselves to do that effectively. So that's why we go with them. We do steal their I shouldn't say this on mic, but we steal their process to use for our commanders assessment because we typically only have very few commander assessments and there's not as many candidates. So we use the same similar processes within it and using HR as guidance. But it is a great business for us that takes a lot of the heavy lifting off of the recruitment process and the testing process. So the two options to consider are to approve the proposed public safety testing service agreement and the assessment center proposal, or do not approve and please provide direction.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the public safety testing service agreement and assessment center proposal to the November 15, 2022 council consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good
Appreciate it.
evening.
You too. So now next item on the agenda is item N, South King Housing and Homelessness Partners 2023 Work Plan and Budget. Sarah Bridgeford, thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. The item before you is the SKIP, or the South King Housing and Homelessness Partners 2023 Work Plan and Budget. The policy question is, should City Council approve the proposed SKIP 2023 Work Plan and Budget? Just a quick overview. This item was before Council in June as at the committee meeting for consideration and consultation. There have been no significant changes. There were some reordering and detail changes, but nothing really differs from what you heard at that meeting. Within the work plan, you'll see that it focuses on sustainability of SKIP and the newly established Housing Capital Fund, which includes our House Bill 1406 funds. There are three primary objectives: the housing policy and planning, affordable housing investment, and then outreach, education, and advocacy. The budget item is included in the proposed 2023-2024 city budget. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions? I do have a question. So
Yes.
the funding allocation, it's based on population, it seems like, right?
That is correct.
So what's the population breakdown? Because the numbers seem to be mirroring each other very, very similarly, or same, actually.
Yes, I do not have the ILA in front of me, but we are in a new population category based on the state's estimates at that 100,000 level. And there are a couple brackets that I can send out after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then King counties, there's unincorporated, and then there's incorporated King County, correct? And the footnote there explains it, and it says the population has increased but funding decreased. That's how, I think that's how I read it. Can you explain that to me, please?
Yes, let me take a quick look on that one. So just,
It says King County's population has increased but funding has decreased or something. It's in the footnotes. So I just wanted to, I'm not sure I understood it.
so that goes back to, I believe it goes back to the ILA and the King County contribution. It is, I will need to clarify that there is a provision, King County had made an additional contribution, and I think that is just adjusting down for population now. So they had made additional contributions in previous years, and now it will be in that population-based allocation.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? Or anybody with questions? All right, thank you. Seeing no questions, would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to forward the proposed SCIP 2023 work plan and budget to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Last item on the agenda, Sarah again, 2023-2024 Human Services Commission Work Plan.
Okay, so the policy question before you is, should the council approve the 2023-2024 Human Services Commission Work Plan? Just a few highlights, and where you'll see all that work falling into is a couple of primary areas, one of which is grant processes. So they are the primary group that evaluates applications for the city's social services nonprofit grants. Those processes will include an ARPA social service process, our CDBG capital fund process, and then our general fund and CDBG public service process for 25-26. Additionally, the Human Services Commission will be working with staff on the addition of a Human Services chapter to the comprehensive plan, and we will be engaging in our consolidated planning process for 25 through 29. And those are the key highlights.
Okay. Anybody have a question? Go ahead.
I do have one question. Coming into next year and having a retreat at the council coming up, if things change, can this plan be adjusted? It's not rock solid, this is what we're gonna do. If something happened that nobody's expected.
Yes, it could be changed.
Thank you. There's gonna be a lot of, at our retreat, I'm sure there's gonna be lots of questions that we haven't ever thought about, so I just wanna make sure that we're not making it in stone that can't be recut if we have to.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Are there any other questions? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to forward the proposed 2023-2024 Human Services Commission Work Plan to the November 15, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? All right, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. And thank you so much, Sarah. And I also want to say thank you to the Human Services Commission for all the work that they put into this. Thank you. All right, with that, are there any other items that we'd like to discuss or talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
Lydia, you are amazing. You run the best meetings. I think you should chair all the meetings.
Okay, thank you.
That was quick. It was only a half hour.
Lydia, thank you for filling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Please chair the next city council meeting.
All right. With that,
Only a half hour.
our next meeting is going to be, did you see what got removed though?
Yes.
Okay.
Take the credit, say thank you.
Go ahead and take it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, our next Parks, Recreation, Human Services, Public Safety meeting will be on January 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m. So we're not going to have a meeting in December. With that, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.